Yeah, actually, we sent, yeah, I did.
Jerry? Perfect. Here, sign it.
We called this meeting thinking that we would be ready to get serious about taking memberships. We've run into a few glitches with Washington State. That never happens. Anyway, we haven't cleared our offer with the state authorities yet, so we are unable to take memberships this evening. So, in effect, this is an informational presentation, not a solicitation for membership. With that, let's get going. Okay. We are North Cascade Meat Producers Cooperative. We started out 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago to the day, as a public meeting of people concerned about the future of the local meat processor. We formed a steering committee to look into the feasibility of purchasing that operation, and we came up with some numbers that we thought would work for us, and we never could come to a satisfactory solution on that. So we began to look at our alternatives. What could we do? We wanted to protect the producers' interests and maintain an operation for them, and we were not sure what was going to happen throughout the area with processors. Then there were some other things that went on, some other offers on the processor that was for sale, and we determined that we would be best to form a cooperative and build a USDA facility or ability in the county to make sure that that was available to meat producers in the county. We started out calling ourselves Whatcom County, or Whatcom Meat Producers Cooperative. But we had a great deal of interest coming out of Skagit and Island counties. So we renamed, rebranded, and changed our name to North Cascade Meat Producers. Okay. We've since had some interest out of Jefferson and Clallam counties, and we think we can accommodate them as well. We have set up a 3-tier membership. First tier being the general membership, which would be for people who just want farm slaughter to sell to their friends or for themselves, that sort of thing. The second tier would be those folks who need USDA capability so that they can sell either in their farm gate store or to their retail customers. The third one is the one that we think is an innovation for the cooperative meat system. We have formed North Cascade Meats, which is our brand, and we will be marketing that brand throughout North Pacific Northwest. We are designed to sell to institutions, to retailers, and to restaurants. We're looking at marketing only grass-fed beef, lamb, and pasture-raised pork. So we set some standards on that. You probably asking yourself, why would I join the cooperative? Okay, in the first place, this is not a membership like you would get at Costco. This is an equity investment where you own a share in the cooperative. Those shares are redeemable when you are no longer a producer. So it's not just money down the drain. You get priority scheduling over non-members. And at some times of the year, that will be important. We all know there's times when it's very difficult to get your animals processed. As we build our business and become profitable, there will be patronage rebates based on the profits of the business. And you have a voice in the running of the cooperative. You have a vote in what happens, and you have the ability to run for a position on the board of these facilities. The last good feature is that we think we can maximize the return on your animals. Producer benefits. By opening the second USDA facility, we increase the availability of USDA processing. We are offering timely processing, again, an expansion of the availability of processing area. We will give you accountability for your product, cost and quality control, and it will increase the producer's control of the pricing. By having a marketing arm, we will be able to negotiate prices with the end users rather than be price takers. That will be done through the wholesale program, which anyone who can meet the standards of growing, the grass-fed standard, is open to being able to join. Go back to the 3 membership levels. General membership, which is the farm slaughter, custom slaughter, is a $500 membership, and that gets 1 vote in the operation of the cooperative. The general membership with the USDA endorsement is a $2,000 membership, and that gives you 2 votes in the running of the cooperative. The third level is the general membership with the USDA endorsement and membership in the North Cascade Meats, a Farmers Cooperative brand program, which gives you access to that branding for your farm gate sales, for your sales to individuals, but also the access to selling your animals to the cooperative for us to process and retail for you. As I first mentioned earlier, we renamed our cooperative to include Skagit and Highland counties. We formed a board of directors and elected officers. We wrote the bylaws. We have registered in July of 2011, we registered the cooperative with the state of Washington. We approved growing standards for grass-fed beef and lamb and pasture-raised pork. We have registered the trademark, logo, and brand, which is North Cascade Meats, the Farmers Cooperative. And we've established email, phone, fax, a website, and I believe we're now on Facebook and Twitter. I'm going to now turn the podium over to Sandy Matheson to talk about the grass-fed standards and the benefits of those standards.
Hello. Standards are something that we've grappled with quite a bit. because we're talking about creating a product that's going to be a value-added product that's not going to be the same as everything else that you find in the usual grocery store. And so we came up with these standards. They were kind of somewhat based on Joe Robinson's Eat Wild standards, although we modified them to fit our particular situation in our particular area. And just to let you know that these are a work in progress. They are something, they're not set in stone. At this point in time, this is what we as the original group have come up with. But any of you who are involved in the co-op will have a say in how these standards are developed. So this is what we have come up with, and actually even modified the standard as much as, or as little as about a week ago. So we began with that market animals are to be sold under the grass-fed standards will be 100% grass-fed, and this relates to the brand. We're talking about the North Cascade Meats. If you are part of the cooperative and you are a member, whether you're doing custom work or you're selling your own USDA products, these standards only have to do with the third level and the third tier of membership, which is that brand that we as the cooperative are putting out there to restaurants, to institutions, to groceries, and that sort of thing. So again, to be a member of the cooperative, you do not have to meet these standards unless you want to be part of the wholesale program and market under the North Cascade Meats brand. I just wanted to make that clear. So these are for the third level or the highest level of membership. So these animals should be grass-fed and 100% grass-fed and under North Cascade Meats member ownership for at least 6 months prior to slaughter. And we had a lot of discussion of that particular standard over the last year or so. And actually even just last week decided to modify it to say that it had to be under ownership. Because it kind of comes back down to that verifiable accountability. Because I know a lot of us do actually purchase animals, and I'm sure that many of you have purchased animals before if you don't produce enough of your own. Many people are buying animals from people that they know or from the recommendation of people that they trust. But when it comes right down to it, we as producers are responsible. So we have decided, this group thus far, that these animals will be under our ownership for at least 6 months prior to slaughter if they are marketed under the North Cascade Meats brand. The second standard we have is no hormones shall be used in production. The routine use of antibiotics is prohibited. In other words, we're not going to be feeding antibiotics to our animals, our weanlings, anything like that. At this point in time, if someone does need to treat an animal, we want them to treat the animal if it needs to be treated. But there will be no subclinical use of antibiotics. Vaccinations and worming medications are allowed if the particular producer feels that it's indicated. But again, withdrawal periods, all of those must apply. The pasture standard requires that no commercial or petroleum-based fertilizers or pesticides are applied to the fields. And finally, raising animals cannot have a detrimental impact on the riparian areas. Because for us to be under the brand, and it's not just the fact that they're grass-fed, is that we want to be able to be producing them in a way that's going to be good for the land, good for the animals, good for the consumers, and good for the ranchers as well. And the next I just want to mention why grass-fed. And I'm not here to debate the merits of why produce grass-fed meat, but it is a growing it's a growing preference among people now. There's more awareness of the health benefits of grass-fed meat, or grass-fed meats, excuse me, and it's just something that we can't ignore. And we felt that it was going to be, it would be a great opportunity for us as producers to be able to put a brand out there that is a little bit different, that is a little bit more unique, and to be able to stand behind it and produce a product that we feel is quality and also healthy, and also good for the animals as well. So again, I'm just going to list some of the benefits that have been listed. Again, the animals are undergoing natural growth. They're not grain-fed. They're not eating something that's going to be, I should say, that's not natural for their gut. It's not natural for the digestive tract. They're in a low-stress situation. Again, none of us are huge producers. We're generally, I think, pretty much family farms. The animals are being treated from birth to butcher. And again, we have animals that are going to be naturally healthy. That is one of the great things that I've seen about grass-fed, in my case beef, grass-fed animals, is that they do so much better when they're not in confinement. They're so much healthier. I mean, it's not, having a sick animal is a pretty rare thing. So again, it's just a very natural and healthy situation for them. Benefits to the consumer, no hormones are used, at least again according to our standards for the North Cascade Meats. There's less total fat, less saturated fat, less of the bad cholesterols, certainly less calories, more vitamin E, more beta-carotene, vitamin C, omega-3 fatty acids, and CLA, which are conjugated linoleic acids, which again have shown some very viable health benefits for people who are consuming those. And grass-fed meats and milk are much higher in those areas. And again, once again, it comes down to it's better for our environment. There's no air, land, or water pollution. At least there should not be if the animals are raised in a way that again is beneficial to the land, beneficial to the animals, and to the people as well. So those are some of the reasons why we feel that there is a great opportunity out there to market grass-fed beef, or grass-fed meats, excuse me. Okay, thank you.
I'm Jeff Boltz. I'm project manager for Northwest Ag Business Center, and I've been working with this group for about 2 years. And Northwest Agriculture Business Center is a rural cooperative development center as designated by the USDA Rural Development Department, and that's why I'm here helping these folks, is because we're charged with helping groups of producers pool their resources and efforts and try to make good agricultural economies happen here in our region. So, why North Cascade Meat? Where's my notes go? Oh, demand is really growing significantly for locally produced products. We have another slide here just momentarily that will indicate that. But a leading consumer trend analysis for food in America, the Hartman Group, says that the demand for local food, especially in the fresh categories, is going to continue to grow for the foreseeable future. So there's a great demand for locally produced meat. And there is little infrastructure to scale up and meet that demand. And so we feel that to develop a cooperative effort to process, market, and distribute will help us meet that demand. 58% of the food purchased in this region is purchased in grocery stores. And we think that building a brand and delivery system that can move into grocery stores, move into institutions like Peace Health or Western Washington University is a great way to get more locally produced product and meet that demand. We think that coordinated production and pooling of resources and building supply is another thing that makes economic sense and market sense. And we think that collaboration and working together will help us to build that pool and those resources to be able to meet market demand. And we also think that cooperation can help us in market competitiveness. We think that by sharing best practices at a farm and production level, as well as working together in our processing plant, we can drive costs out of locally produced meat and actually try to get our products in line and competitive with providers outside of the region. So these two slides are indicators of what's going on with demand for local and what the potential market is for us. And the first slide over here on the left was taken from the USDA Ag Census 2002-2007. And as you can see, the blue bar is 2002 and the red bar is 2007. We had a 124% increase in farmer direct sales in Whatcom County from between 2007 and 2002, and a 67% increase in all. And I think that 124% increase, at this point in time, I'd like to say that I think Sustainable Connections had a lot to do with helping promote local products. I think they're really a strong element in helping attain that number. But the important thing there, I think, is that we've seen that farmer direct sales go up that large amount, which I think relates to local demand. People want to buy from local producers. And even then, looking at 2007 sales in Whatcom County, a little less than $4 million, or about maybe 0.8% of the food purchased in the county. So even if we've seen that huge growth in local demand, it is still a very, very small sliver of the food that people are buying and eating in the county. And the second panel over there on the right-hand side, if you look down in the far left-hand corner, it says total area consumption. And this is in beef here. So for 3 counties, this is Island, Skagit, and Whatcom, the people consumed almost 50,000 beef, 49,489,000 head of beef were consumed last year in beef. And I figure that we're probably producing, and these are hard numbers to come by in terms of I'm not sure what goes on with cold dairy cows and how that pipeline goes. But thinking in terms of local beef, we're estimating about 1,700 of those 49,000 were local beef. So it gives us an idea of how much market there could be for us. And so even at 10%, that would be almost 5,000 head of beef. And that's, looking at pretty close to about $10 million of economy. So there's a lot of demand, and there's a lot of bandwidth to grow because people are eating the product and they're just not getting it from us. So we estimate we've talked to 7, this is all kind of Whatcom County based, since I've started my analysis and research. But we've talked to grocery stores, restaurants, and institutions, both the hospital and Western Washington University. And we're estimating that there's a potential market first year for about 245 head of beef. So we're not going to set the world on fire, but it still is a lot more than what we're doing now. And this table is maybe a little obtuse for people, but the left-hand column, pounds per cow, if you look at the bottom, 459, that's how many, what we estimate, finished pounds per cow of meat or beef, sellable meat. And so there's 31 pounds of ribeye, 5 pounds of short rib, 24 pounds of strip loin. And then over in the next column, subtotal, is what the demand was for 6 restaurants in the region. So weekly demand, 18 pounds of ribeye, 40 pounds of bone-in short ribs. That's Boundary Brewery. And so the reason I went through this is just trying to figure out, okay, to serve those 6 restaurants, how many cows would we need? And so to the ribeyes, we'd be good with 1 cow, but if we were going to supply all the short ribs for Boundary Big, we'd need 8 cows. Strip loin, 5 cows. So this gives you an idea that one of the challenges that we have in selling locally is trying to figure out how to merchandise the whole cow. Because most restaurants want all the top-end meats. But down at the bottom, if you look there, we have fajita, satay, stew beef, and grind. We have quite a bit of tonnage going through the hospital and school. So we do have a pretty good outlet if you're to become a provider for the college and for the hospital, because they are taking those, the rounds and the chucks and some of that in terms of grind and fajita. So the long and the short of it here is that we think for the restaurants and institutions that we could move about 3 beef a week, and in the grocery stores I guess that next to about almost 90 beef. So right now we're thinking that the market for the first year for our North Cascade Meats brand of beef would be about 245 head. So our initiatives are, we're talking to grocery stores. We have had several meetings with Aaron Martin Food Services at Western Washington University who are interested in working with us. We've talked to Peace Health, who is also interested in working with us, and also supplying the coffee tonight. Thank you. And we're actively in talks with restaurants here in Bellingham as well. And also, we have arranged for use, a part of our operating model, which we'll get into a little more detail here, is to bring up a 40-foot USDA-inspected mobile slaughter unit, which is owned by the Pierce County Conservation District. We already have a letter of intent for them to lease it to us, and that would be the means by which we could have USDA-inspected slaughter, and the plan would be to build our own processing plant somewhere to go ahead and post-slaughter process the meat. And we are looking at sites, and everybody's asking, well, where are you looking? And we're kind of generally looking, but there's no sense in really negotiating for a site until we know we have enough producers interested to start a business. So here's a picture of the unit in action. About 5 board members and myself went down to Olympia last November to watch it in action. This unit can process up to 12 head of beef a day, 20 hogs a day, or 30 sheep a day. And right now our business plan calls for us to lease that unit 6 days a month. And that would fulfill the demand for what we believe our projections will call for. So we will establish a USDA approved processing plan. We plan to hire staff and begin with, I think it's 3 full-timers and 2 part-timers the first year. We're going to do a good job, high quality service, and we're going to provide for a wholesale market. So first year projected production requirements. We're looking at, right now the model calls for, and this, we've got to take our best shot at what we think the mix would look like for these memberships. You saw the 3 levels. So we're looking at 50 general memberships, 25 would be looking for USDA services, and 22 would participate in the wholesale program. And over in the right-hand columns, we have beef, pork, and lamb. So the first column, we're anticipating processing 100 beef for custom, 125 for USDA Farmer Direct, and 200. So we showed projection of 245, we're projecting 200 for our financial modeling for the wholesale program. Pork, we're looking at 150 for custom processing, 150 for USDA, and 100 for the wholesale program. And lamb, 50 for custom, 100 for USDA, and 200 for the wholesale program. And these here are a little bit hard to follow, but I thought it's real important, for folks that aren't used to looking at, well, our total projections for the first year are just to slaughter and process 1,075 animals. And so is that a lot, or is that not a lot? I mean, it would seem to me as though for the 4 companies who control about 80% of the processing of beef in America, that's probably not a lot. But this gives us a general idea of what an individual, the average member, would put through the system in the first year. So say that somebody who had a general membership, had a diversified farm, had cows, beef, and beef, hogs, and lamb, they'd be putting through 2 beef, 1 lamb, and 3 hogs. So I think the importance about these slides is for people who would be investing in this is to understand that this is not pie in the sky. These are pretty realistic projections. We're not looking for huge numbers to make the economics for this is separate work. For USDA, we'd be looking at 5 beef, 6 pork, and 4 lambs. And for those who participate in the wholesale program, we're just looking at 9 beef, 9 lambs, and 5 hogs. So we're not looking for people who have hundreds of cows. I mean, if we had 22 producers and they each provided 9 beef, we have our wholesale numbers for the first year. So here's the pricing that we right now are using in our modeling, and these are, we've kind of looked at what other providers, from Centralia North are charging, and we feel that these are prices that make our model work, and we feel are competitive. We're probably a little bit lower than some, and in some places a little bit higher, but overall these are the prices on the first panel for what we would charge for custom slaughtering and USDA slaughtering. And on the bottom is what we're projecting for wholesale prices to the farmer. So that's the price that the co-op would pay to the producer to take ownership of that livestock based on that producer meeting our standards. And that's what we would put into the wholesale program. So if we look at that beef at 1,575, that's based on a 682-pound hanging weight, or approximately 1,150-pound live weight animal. And we set that number last July, and we came back and looked at it again in March and still felt that number was about right. And I think that based on a hanging weight basis, that was about 25 cents a pound higher than what was currently being sold at pricing at the auction. And it probably would equate to similar to about 15 cents a pound live weight for the auction. And if we translate that into a total animal, we're looking at about roughly $150 to $170 an animal, better than a farmer could achieve at the auction to wholesale with us. And here's just a quick slide and look at the equipment we'd be purchasing and construction costs for the plant. So we're looking at about $145,000 of equipment. That includes a processing truck to go on farm for on-farm slaughter, and a refrigerated truck to move from the USDA slaughter unit into processing, and also for delivery, for distribution. The construction costs to build out the plant, which would be in the lease facility, are roughly $117,500, and we have about $10,000 budgeted for preparing the asset plan and having a third-party inspection of the facility. In terms of operating sense, this is of all the expense dollars, this is where the money goes. So for our projected operation, 54 cents of every dollar will be going back to the producer for the wholesale acquisition of beef, hog, and lamb. For the first year, 24 cents of each dollar will be going to staff, payroll taxes. That number will go down over time. 11 cents for operations and facilities. And only 2 cents for marketing. Okay, we've got 5 cents for utilities. So if you go to the next slide, the next slide, this is a 3-year income statement projection. So it's kind of going down. If we look at that top line, wholesale sales, first year, 615, and pretty much through the subsequent year 2 and year 3 of our total income, this is really driven by the wholesale program. We are projecting about 73% of the sales each year will come from the wholesale program. So this is really, this business plan is mostly driven by that wholesale activity. We will have custom processing, we will have USDA processing, but this is really about a different model that will help local meat production scale up and get into grocery stores, get into more restaurants and more institutions. Cost of goods, once again, I believe, I don't have my notes here, but I believe that $443,831 in cost of goods the first year, about $415,000 of that is to producers for wholesale purchase of cattle, and about $28,000 of it is for supplies, boxes, bags, pallets, that kind of thing. Once again, payroll expenses, we're looking at a full-time general manager, kind of a meat operations lead, and pretty close to full-time apprentice, as well as a half-time office manager and another half-time apprentice for the first year. And you can see as a percentage of sales, payroll is 23.9% of total income, and it starts to climb down as we get more efficient and as volume goes up. I think the third year, we're basically at 4 full-time staff and 1 3/4 time staff and 1 half-time staff in the third year of operation. Looking at facilities in operation, to lease the unit and bring it up is roughly about $34,000 a year. We'll be leasing it for $200 a day, and we figure we'll be up twice a month, 3 days each time up for processing. And right now we're budgeting about $800 round trip to transport it from Gate Harbor up to Whatcom County. Just for those in Skagit, there's a possibility as this evolves that we could land the unit in Skagit for a portion of that run. The first year we're projecting 6 days a month, second year 7 days, and the third year 9 days a month to use the mobile unit. And when we think about the difference between 500 general membership and 2,000 USDA membership, well, we've got almost $35,000 a year of bringing that unit up. So that's a portion of, why those differences in cost for membership. There's quite a bit more money involved in providing that USDA service. It comes with an inspector. Utilities run about $40,000 a year, and I think those are pretty much the highlights of the expenses. Just like any startup business, we are projected to lose money the first year, and then get up to a little bit of better break even on the second year, and then to be comfortably profitable in the third year. And the next one's cash flow and balance sheet. So right now we're looking at meeting 97 members to generate $130,000 of capital. So we're looking for $130,000 of capital. The total project cost of seeing it up and running and have working capital is budgeted at $390,000. So right now the breakdown would be for the members to provide a third of that, 130. We'd be looking to try to secure private loans, another 130, and then probably 130 from a program lender, such as Industrial Credit Union right now has been designated as a community development financial institution, and they might be a resource. And there's others such as Craft Free or Community Capital Development. We have some resources out there for people who get funding as a community development financial institution who are there to fund these kinds of projects. So cash flow, a lot of numbers up there. Can we get that? Can you explain this to me, Matt? So looking at year one, I think probably the highlights are just as I covered. We have 140,000 member equity because it also assumes that during that first year of operation, we'd have some people joining with about another $10,000 member equity. So the first year will have 140. Startup, we need 130. Okay. And then, like I explained, private loans and program loans. So basically, total capital sources would be right at $400,000, but we need $390 to start up. Other highlights there to look at. If you look at that adjusted inventory, $39,044. It's actually over in the. If you look over at assets, you see there in the second panel, opening balance sheet. That's checking and savings at 53, down below 40,366. That would be what we would open inventory with. So the month before we actually start selling, we would buy and process that inventory. We have to harvest the beef, has to hang, we have to process it. So we would be opening with that $40,000 inventory. We've got purchase equipment back to the left-hand column there at $144,690. Building out 127. Anytime you open a business, you've got to pay utility deposits. You've got to have some staff in there for the first month. Probably have a loan payment to make that first month without having that cash flow. So those are some of the pre-opening expenses. And basically, after we've done our first month of our first couple months of prepping before we open, we would end up with $53,604 right there in that far second panel, first column. That will be our opening cash. And so kind of bottom line there as we go through and go through each year, we ended up the first year with 35,951 cash, second year 38. So we basically we cash flow with this business plan, that capitalization. Yeah, I think the next slide is the next. Yeah. Okay. So, open for thoughts or questions or whatever, and the board was here, and we've got the mic to run to everybody.
I just want to say, would you like to introduce the board?
Okay, let's do that. Thank you, Sandy. Okay, I'd like to introduce the board. Over left-hand side, Ben Ellenboss, Sean Knaus. We've got Phil Tucker, who is the board treasurer. Terry Benson from Ski Ranch. Matt Amott, who's the board secretary. Pat Grover, who's the board chair. And Sandy Matheson, who's the board VP. And I think we're missing Linda Martini and Gary Knaus and Randall Renders. So we're missing 3 board members who couldn't be here tonight. Any questions over this way, Pat?
I noticed you have beef and lamb and hogs, but you don't have any goats. Is that going to be a possibility, or is that out of the question?
No, I don't think it's out of the question. We haven't had a lot of demand wholesale for it. Obviously, for USDA processing for farmers, yeah, we'll definitely be processing goats. We have had a couple of conversations with Corfini Gourmet, which is a distributor down in Seattle, and there might be a market for that. It's something we haven't really considered yet in terms of having any demand from the market. But I think that, yeah, we're wide open to that possibility.
So you obviously have grass-fed standards for cows and lamb, but do you have any standards in mind for hogs that are grass-fed?
I'll let Pat answer that.
Yes, we have virtually identical standards for pork as for beef, but adapted to the pork. They have to be pasture raised, no commercial grain fed, no GMOs, of course, the same, no hormones.
No,
That's not an standard.
Okay, that's my standard. But there's,
Good.
yeah, Matt, you can speak to your pork standard.
Okay, so the main thing with the pork is that it's more of a living standards that sets it apart than making it exactly what's different from a commercially raised pig. Now, for getting it 100% GMO-free or 100% organic, that isn't in the standards yet. It's something we certainly might move to. But the biggest thing is when it's weather appropriate. I mean, anybody that's tried to raise pigs in the Northwest knows pigs out on a pasture in December, January is just a recipe for mud and disease problems and dead pigs and bad things. So when it's seasonally appropriate, we require that the pigs be raised on pasture. It doesn't specify how much grass has to be grown out there, or how big the field is, or how much you've got to rotate it, that sort of thing. That's one of the things that we're going to have to work out together as a producer group to set some internal controls that way. But they're still going to be fed grain. If we can, we'd love to get it off of commercial corn, GMO corn, that sort of thing. So if we can come up with a ration that all the producers would use, whether it's a barley and wheat, whether we do end up sourcing some organic corn, and really until we build the market for organic pork, that's a ton of money we put in to try and require them to use strictly organic stuff to begin with. So that market is certainly there in a limited amount, but we're trying to get as many people into raising a pasture-raised hog, natural grains, in a pastured setting versus dry lot, feedlot, commercial, corporate type of things.
Any breed requirements for pork?
Not yet. That's something we're certainly looking at. You know, there's a wide range of pork breeds, tastes and textures throughout that. We haven't come up with a standard that fully addresses how to get everybody on the same standard. That's one of the things that we're going to be working on with pork producers. Ideally, we would like to have some more of the heritage breeds. Stay away from the Yorkshire Landrace, the ones that have been bred to be so lean that they don't just have that good old-time pork flavor. And basically, this is a market-driven thing. There's plenty of demand out there for cheap pork. We're not trying to sell cheap pork. We're trying to sell basically what the top 50% of the market is demanding. If you want to buy or sell cheap bacon and sausage and that sort of thing, you're more than welcome to do that on your own. But it's not a market that shows any profitability for either us as farmers or us as a whole.
I got a couple of questions. Just, you know, I'm a beef producer, and there's a hog, okay, that's a play thing. I run about 30 cows or so I have, a bunch of steers every year. A lot of my stuff's purebred, that's immaterial. But so what you're telling me, if I want to become a general member and sell my meat to Cascade, North Cascade meat producers, I've got to be strictly grass fed. Is that correct?
Yes.
And so if I feed a 5-gallon bucket of grain every day, just so when I shake the grain and say, "Come, boss," I can catch the cow and eat. I'm not out there before I go to the office chasing around the field for 2.5 hours. So you just eliminated me because I use that method to get my cows up at the barn.
Could I comment?
And I can say something on that really quick. The main standard that we have is very strict, is at least 6 months. It has to be grass-fed. Because strictly, Jerry, that is what the market is asking of us. Now, whether you want to raise it up to a feeder steer and then either finish that on pasture or sell it to another member that's going to finish on pasture.
My cows run out the field,
Sure.
and I just use that, and I do finish my steers with grain, because my Seattle market calls.
Absolutely, there's a market.
And I could probably convince the other way too, but
Right.
I mean, I've gone out there and chased a cow that you eat, and I can run around out there with 4-wheeler for 2 hours trying to be in the barn, but if I shake the grain, it comes to the run.
I just wanted to comment that the standards refer to the animals weighed in the wholesale program. I mean, it's not to say that you can't feed grain to any of your other animals or show animals or whatever, or cows, but it refers to the just those animals going into the grain program.
I got a question on the membership deal. Okay, general membership is $500. Okay, now you just told me that there's really no advantage to me to be in the $25 program because I'm in a field of grain. Okay, so am I allowed to buy five $500 shares in? If I want to say I only give you guys $2,500.
Can you buy what?
Five $500 share. Number one memberships. Can I buy as many memberships or shares as I want, or is it just one? I get one shot?
One shot.
Okay.
What's the advantage here of having 5? Just to have 5 votes?
Well, I believe in you, Ben. I want to produce something. I think this is investment. So I'm not just hypothetically talking here. I'm all of a sudden thinking, these guys are on the right page here. I want to give them $50,000.
Well, let's split that up, Jerry. Every time a cooperative starts, it's usually on a 1 share, 1 vote. Now this one we formed just a little bit different, so there's the people who are maybe using it more or who specifically have animals that are put through the brand. We're going to give them a little bit extra votes like that. But buying shares is one thing. When we get to the capital side, the financing side, making loans, or, I mean, shoot, I'll just take an outright donation.
No, okay, no, I understand. I'm just asking this
But
question.
there's always, there's two separate things I think that we could.
And then the other thing is, okay, now, does the person that put in $2,500 and has the general membership, and the person that put the $500 in, okay, when it comes time, there's $1,000 to split, do they each get the same share? Does the guy that put in the more money get the bigger share?
Yeah, I didn't quite, the slides didn't quite tell all of that. Basically what happens is we keep track of all the money that's coming in through custom cut, all the money that comes in through USDA slaughter, all the money that comes in through the co-op. You know, all the custom stuff gets pooled together. Any profit from that enterprise gets returned to, in an equal amount to how much you used it, gets returned to the guys who did the custom slaughter. Now say you had some that was custom and USDA. Same sort of deal. Whatever profit was returned on that one.
So
that's
some
what I did
categories
so far.
there, so.
Yeah. All that stuff is still subject to change.
It didn't explain that, yeah.
Right. They've been kicking around a lot of ideas, and it's still got some ironing out to do.
I just have a question on come fall, everybody has animals on pasture, they're all ready to go to market, and here come the trucks. And then come in December, who has animals to market? If you've got markets with the stores and stuff, you're going to have a steady supply of going. So how are you going to regulate who can bring what and when?
And you're only going to kill 6 days a month. That's another question I have. You're going to kill 6 days a month, and everybody wants theirs done in September and October. Is there going to be enough to
And that's USDA too.
And if
So
you
there's,
hold them to the winter for your December, January, February markets, what can you feed them?
we're hoping you tell us when. We're still figuring that out ourselves.
That means my question is, how do you actually, what are you actually defining grass fed as? Because a bale of hay is grass. That's all there is to it, whether it's standing on concrete or growing on the ground, it's grass.
Right.
Period.
define area?
So how do you define, is it, if you say grass fed pasture, okay, so I gotta kick them out on a pasture that I may not have for 6 months versus their entire life in a quarter-foot size feedlot that I feed nothing but grass silage and hay, dry hay for their entire life. That's, in my book, that's still grass fed, because grass is grass.
Yeah, you're right, it is. And grass doesn't even have to be grass. Clover is considered grass fed. It's forage, basically. We're talking grain. I believe even if you can get into certain national standards, we'll even talk about corn without kernels can be forage. Right?
Well, that's what I was just going to ask you,
So-
corn silage, a non-GMO corn silage, which is 98% plant matter and not actual grain. And that can still be considered as natural. Because I don't claim myself as grass-fed, I can say it's natural. And I consider, if you let a cow off the corn, you can do okay.
Okay, well, here's what I'm going to say, and this might come across wrong to the majority of the old school producers in here. And what I'm going to tell you is that how this co-op originally started was for people that were trying to get outside the box and make money. People that were looking to be able to farm. I'm 33 years old, and there's no way I can be a farmer and stay inside the traditional box.
Yeah.
So that's not true?
That's not totally true. I'm 40, you just got started 5 years ago.
Okay, well, my reality is that I couldn't have purchased my land and done any of this without doing something different. So I guess what we're talking about here with the grass-fed standard is something different. And so what we do on our farm is we don't calve in the spring and slaughter in the fall. We year-round calve. We feed high-quality forages to get them to grow all winter long instead of just getting them through the winter. It can be done. And if you're not willing to play by those grass-fed standards and shift your calving or try to have animals available year-round, then maybe the $2,500 option isn't.
My complaint
For
would
you.
be any of the price thing, and that's each to their own on that, whether or not it pencils out for their particular operation. But, you know, my thing is, you know, being more on the traditional, I'm actually kind of a hybrid between the grass and the commercial, is the fact that is they're going to spend extra time on grass. It's going to take them long. And then the other thing is too, is grass fed. If you pasture, if you don't have enough property, you're going to be buying feed. And how are you going to make sure, especially when it comes to GMO or any commercial fertilizers and stuff like that, how are you going to certify across the board that the crops that you're buying to finish out on the grass fed even meet the standards? Because there's a real good chance the guy says, well, yeah, I'm not going to put any commercial fertilizer on this. Well, there's a real good chance you got one that has some on it, or you got the overspray from the guy next door there. I mean, you're entering into land that's certified organic, which, you know, there's a lot of us, we can pay the price tag to go certified organic.
And that's why we didn't go certified organic, because.
But some of your additional rules actually do that. So how do you police across that?
I believe what we've talked about was it'll be peer pressure, basically, producer peer pressure. And I guess there's a certain level of trust that has to go on, and if you can sleep at night, do whatever you want. But I faith in my neighbors that
there's going to be an internal review on, you know, there'll be a group of producers that's going to set up to help with quality control, quality standards there. One of the things you brought up, you know, how are you going to know that none of the feed you've bringing in has been grown on land that's chemically fertilized? You know, if you're asking the guy and he's telling you no, honestly, that's good enough for us. If you're asking him, he says, yeah, don't tell anybody, and you continue to buy it, you know, and you never get caught, well, I mean, there's plenty of certified organic producers that go out at midnight and spray whatever they want to.
And I think a lot of the appeal of what we're trying to do here is be when, you know, Susie Q from 7th and Edson in Linden drives down Van Dyke Road, she could say, hey, those are the cows that we're buying when we buy this package, right? And there's a little bit of checks and balances knowing that it's coming from a small area and you can go visit the farm. And I know on our farm, we aren't certified anything. We're certified if you want to come look, you can come look. And I think that's what we're trying to get at.
What kind of fertilizer are you allowed to use?
Cow manure, chicken manure, hog manure, compost, anything but the stuff that comes out of the oil.
Anybody has a plan what kind of nitrogen they take from the ground?
What was that?
The plant, you will take the nitrogen, the same kind of nitrogen, whether you take it from the manure or from the urea or from the ammonium nitrate.
I don't think that anybody's worried about the nitrogen that's in the fertilizer. I think it's everything else that comes along with it. We're not crop scientists.
When you're saying fertilizer, you're talking about manure.
No, we're talking about commercial fertilizer.
Okay, so you can apply urea or...
well, that would be a commercial fertilizer.
That's okay.
No.
That's not okay.
The big thing is that this goes beyond just a purely scientific analysis of what the plant does with the fertilizer. This is more in the hearts and minds that the folks that we're selling to, this is all, you know, if this was just farmer driven, we probably would be doing half of this stuff. But in order for us to sell into these higher end markets, the end consumer, the person that's buying this, the chefs that are selling it to the people at the restaurants, they have a vision in mind what they want for the meat that they're going to sell and they're going to charge more for. We can grow it any way you want to, but if we want to sell to a market that's going to give us a better price for it, this is the game we have. This is, you know, I mean, I'm not saying that I believe in organic agriculture and doing it on a biological way. Somebody else believes in doing it with chemicals, more power to them. That's just, you know, that's the nice thing about living in America. We can all do how we want to. This specifically is a market that if we want to sell into it, these are kind of the standards that they've set for us.
And we're trying to get a premium price too, and get the producers a premium price.
No, but I do understand you're using insecticides or herbicide. Those are different kind of chemicals. Okay, the plant, whether it's nitrous ammonium, bacteria, nitrophobus, that they transform the manure into nitrate, or whether you apply directly as a nitrate, the plant is getting the same product. Okay, that's quite different. When you're applying all these kind of chemicals for the
yeah, we're not arguing that commercial fertilizers don't work and can't be profitable. What Matt's trying to get at is that the market that we're marketing to doesn't want it, so that's part of our standard. And the reason we're there is because we're trying to take advantage of that market. That's not to say that North Cascade Meats couldn't come up with a grain-fed variety, but what people are asking for right now, it tends to be, and where the opportunity in the market, it's in the grass-fed, and that's the hole that I think we're trying to fill.
And that question go back to the gentleman before that said that he could feed corn silage. I'm pretty sure that anybody that plants corn has to fertilize. And anybody that is growing grass on sandy soils, like they are most of the bottom soils around here, you have to fertilize because the carcination capacity is too low. You cannot accumulate and you cannot maintain any nutrient there in the soil. So you don't fertilize it. I mean, if anybody has enough manure to apply, but if you have 20, 30 cows, you don't have enough manure.
Yeah, very good with that. Yeah, my name is Bruce. I've got a comment and then a question. Your equipment and facility build-out costs seem to be pretty low. You know, a slaughter truck for $20,000, you can't buy a pickup truck for that. For a double axle or a single axle slaughter truck that's custom built, you know, you can spend $60,000. I think more realistic numbers could probably come from the custom kill folks. Now everybody knows what they paid for their truck, so I think you may be $100,000 low on your equipment costs. The second thing is that I don't see any talk here of a real risk, and that's some sort of a recall. One of the biggest risks to any organization that's producing food is some sort of a recall based on a bacteria or an infection or a potential for an infection. Even if it isn't proven, the costs of defending against that sort of outbreak are pretty substantial. You recall your product, you have to deal with the lawsuits from the sick people, you have to prove that it was or wasn't you have to take corrective measures. You guys are only looking at $50,000 profit, and one day in a critical care unit can take $50,000. So I'm just pointing out that, like the cantaloupe farm down in Colorado that was recently cited, and the cantaloupe farm was charged, and the distributor who picked it up, and the people that installed the equipment, they were all sued. And now the distributors are being sued, and the grocery stores that sold the cantaloupes are being sued. So one of the biggest costs that I don't see a contingency plan for a rainy day, and I also don't see an insurance cost, which I think are going to be vital to maintain the stability of the organization.
There's $7,000 a year in there for general liability, which hopefully is going to get us a $5 million.
I think that's a little low. No. The cantaloupes cost more than $5 million. Cantaloupes, not meat, cantaloupes.
I've been talking to a broker, so I think we're pretty close.
Question on just overall the standards. So if everyone's selling beef to the co-op and wholesale, and if you guys are trying to ensure a level of quality to the restaurant level, how are you ensuring that each carcass is actually meeting the quality? Is there a rejection type ability the co-op will have, and is that based on live or hanging? Is it based on a USDA grading type criteria? And what happens, is there a plan if chef says, dude, this has not got the marbling? How does that get traced back to the individual producer? And is there a potential for them to get kicked out of the buying program? Or how is that one carcass or series of carcasses they're just not fat enough. They're not marbled enough. They're not X, Y, or Z. Beyond the standards of grass-fed, or beyond the natural type standards, but the quality type standards.
And one of the things we've talked about is that we will have somebody's got to do the quality control and be the bad guy. I've done it for produce. It's not a fun job, but somebody has to do it. And so we're going to make the decision at the time of animal on the hoof, whether we buy it or not. It's finished to our eyes, to our, there's different back fat testers we can use. There's lots of different possibilities, but we'll make the decision then whether to buy it or not. Now, once it gets to the plant, it's on the hoof, or it's on the rail, then we would say, we would evaluate it for, this has got the right level of finish for a top-end restaurant, or maybe this would be better to go in the grind. That's the nice thing about having multiple institution level, grocery store, and higher end restaurant that we could move it around. Now, part of this is producers working together because, quite honestly, the grass-fed beef production is more in that master's level degree of farming. I mean, anybody can go out and raise a steer, corn feed it, and come out with something that's pretty decent. And it takes extra education and extra time and extra work on the pastures, and honestly, to get a good grass-fed beef. There's some folks that we have in the group that have been doing it for a while that we're counting on their expertise to try and help the rest of the folks along, and hopefully we'll pick up some more people that have been doing it. But it's not a walk in the park. It's not an easy thing to produce a prime grass-fed steer heifer. So it's something we got to work into.
Is it prime?
Well, I'm sorry, I didn't mean prime, but I mean a good. So how's that? Now, as far as grading USDA standards, I don't know that we've gotten that worked out.
But so just because you buy the third tier membership doesn't mean you're guaranteed that your animals will be purchased by the co-op.
That's right. Anybody can throw money at it, and
in the materials that were up here on the desk, there was one thing called a marketing agreement, and a lot of that is covered in there. Matter of the co-op accepting or not accepting the animal, doing the grading and all that sort of thing. And what happens if it doesn't meet standard?
And that's something that's still in constant state of reworking and putting together. I mean, this is all designed to be a farmer-run cooperative. So any of the folks joining after this meeting, it's not like, well, you guys just are Johnny-come-latelys. No, you guys would have equal share, equal voice in helping with this. But the market opportunity is for grass-fed beef. The idea is not that this plant has to be supported entirely by the meat program. We're still trying to do make more of the custom stuff valuable. There's lots of folks that just want to market their own calves, their own quarters, or even doing the USDA by the pound, and we're happy to have that available.
And to go back to Wendy's question, also in that marketing agreement, there is an annual production contract that says this is how many animals I will provide in the year and how many I will deliver each month. That will be set up so that we have an even flow of animals in, and you as a producer will know what you committed to deliver in January versus what you're going to deliver in June. That will help some of that, smooth out some of that.
How are you going to determine, just following up on that, how are you going to determine who takes precedence on that schedule? Because right now you're going to have a lot of people on their own schedules, and I myself, I'm year round. It don't make any difference to me. But you're going to have a lot that do it in the fall. And how are you going to get that broke up? Because somebody's going to have to ride some cattle for an extra 6 to 8 months. And you're already pushing the limit on how long you've got them walking. So how are you going to determine off of whatever scale of who falls in where? I know you're gonna get some that will break down and come up at different time of year, so it's gonna start filling the gaps, but at some point, you're gonna have to sell some of the longer feed units for the next month or two.
Well, I think probably it's going to be a matter of negotiation in the early stages, one-on-one. And we may have to come to a guy like you and say, hey, instead of going year-round, can you hold off a couple for a month or two and deliver 4 instead of 2? And then somebody else can deliver and fill in that has, that isn't into the system yet. Over the long term, hopefully everybody will be like them, going year-round.
You don't all want to be like me.
The nice thing too
I
is,
am in way to grow.
the nice thing is that we've got some institutional buyers that will buy frozen. And so we can harvest, if we've got that nice surplus, and everything's been out on grass and it's a good age, and we can put a bunch in the cold storage plant, that's gonna help sell throughout the winter. And so, it doesn't all have to go through the fresh market. But, we predict more of it would be on the fresh.
We're not the buyers for Swift. We're not going to tell you what you have to do.
And in fact,
I don't hope everybody works together to make it work.
And I don't think any of us now are selling anything fresh. Sandy, are you?
No.
Yeah, everything we sell is frozen too, so.
Question. You run out of grass in the winter, and you run out of the hay that you have produced, and you buy some hay to feed it. How do you know that hay they use fertilizer?
The biggest thing is, kind of like what I talked about earlier, if you ask a guy and he says that you didn't put fertilizer on it, honestly, that's fine. I mean, it's something,
that's part of the benefits of being a co-op, is that we can go to each other if we need animals, and we know that they've been grown to the same standard. If I have a surplus of hay, which often I do, buy hay from me, it's not just selling the meat. We can work together with everything and help each other out. That's kind of the whole.
If you believe your supplier's been honest, that's good enough for us.
Well, and I just want to say, everybody, that this is an evolution. It is not a revolution. We are just starting out, and that's why we don't have lockstep, really tight standards saying it's got to be this, got to be that. And my hope is that as it grows and we share and collaborate and pool resources, we can start to develop verifiable and standards-driven resources. We're not going to be able to come up with those in the first 12 to 36 months. And hopefully from 36 months to 60 months, we've got it wired, even if we're having to pull hay from Yakima County, that we have somebody we know who's a verifiable source who is growing to our standard. And that's a long-range plan. We don't have that wired now, but that's the way we want to go.
We know, I think all of us know the people we're getting the hay from. We know what they've done. So we're friends and neighbors and that. And if we got in the business of buying hay from Yakima or from somebody else in Snohomish County, we'd have a different situation. But right now, we're all free. We're tight. And we've got these things pretty well under control.
I just wanted to say I'm from the food co-op, and we're one of the markets that you're going to be selling through if you join this co-op. And there are 3 advantages to this operation from our point of view. One, our members really want grass-fed beef. They really want local beef. And they really love cooperatives. And so buying from a local cooperative that's selling grass-fed beef is going to be a tremendous selling point to our membership. We have 13,000 members. We do $26 million in business. And we're about over 2.5 million of that is meat. And so it would, there's definitely a market for it. The interest in local food is tremendous. People tell us all the time, we just did a survey. They're really interested in locally produced things. And so I think there is an opportunity there. From my point of view, there's a good market. Just thought I'd mention that since I'm probably the rarity. What's the rate on? I don't know. You should have shown what you got.
Tied stores.
number one, number two, number three.
I'm a manager. Sean is a worker.
Pressure's on, Sean.
Do you have to be a producer to be a member?
Yes.
And are there annual dues beyond the membership?
Currently, no.
Very.
Larry asked if there are annual dues for membership. At this point in time, no, there are not, but you do have to be a meat producer from the North Cascades region to be involved. Yes.
I noticed in your average production meats per member per year for the wholesale totals, I mean, how do you, like I produce 100 lambs a year, but only, probably 4 or 5 steers. And yet you say you need 9 steers per member per year. But I can more than compensate in terms of lamb.
Right, and that's the key to that. That's the average. That's just saying if we had to break it down equal to everybody. But someone like you is raising 100 sheep or 100 lambs there. Someone like Phil is raising 60 or 40 or 50 of the steers, but no lambs at all. That was
just to illustrate that the numbers aren't insane. They're very doable numbers.
For instance, myself, I normally have been raising about 10 pigs a year. When we're in production with this, I will probably be anywhere from 24 to 36 pigs a year, marketing 2 to 3 a month.
So I apologize if I missed this, but do you guys have sort of a timeline you're looking for once you get the issues with state regulations cleared up? When do you want to be processing animals ideally, more realistically?
Last fall. Yeah, I think it just really depends on if we get the level of interest from the producer, because that's really what's going to drive it. Is if we get the $130,000 of equity investment from producers, I think that makes a physical impression on the private folks that we're going to be seeking, providing an offering to and seeking lending from. And it's just kind of it's the way the dominoes fall. Producers come first, we get that level of interest, that proves to the market, it proves to the lending community. Then we have local people here who are interested in investing on a private offering basis, we believe. That will drive it to the next point. And if we can capitalize it with just producers and those folks, it's great. But if not, I think if we had 2/3 of the project startup costs paid for, I think we'd have a pretty good chance of finding that program lending or even bank loans.
I've raised animals that ended up in the restaurants. Crunchy boys used to look at my animals and say, we're going to ship them to the restaurant. I also was involved in the growing of alfalfa. And it's impossible to get a good protein level on alfalfa and get a good stand if you don't use potash and phosphorus. You've got to use a little boron too. It's grown on sandy soil. You have to irrigate it too. When you get into irrigation or rain, 10% of the rain that comes from in this area, according to the Geological Service, has nitrogen in it, and that's not a manure type of animal fertilizer, but yet you're getting it on your grass. But my question is, when it comes time to winter, the cattle aren't always going to be able to eat anything, and you've got to have a good protein level, whether it be grass or legume. And I tend to prefer putting an alfalfa in if I can get, and I want to know what cutting it is I'm getting. But it has been fertilized east of the mountains by chemical fertilizer. They can't get 4 stems a year without putting something on it.
And back to that subject, we've had a bunch of discussions there, and I think we got to look at, like you said, it is kind of an evolution rather than a revolution. The first thing customers are looking for is that it's a local beef that's been raised. The next thing they're looking at is they're saying it's grass-fed. All right. The next thing, it's kind of a level of priorities there. At some point, eventually, we would like to, I mean, the market asks it, and we think that the best opportunity for market share or getting you the best price for it lies in something that isn't necessarily organic, but is grown without the use of the chemical fertilizer. Even if we just achieve the first two, I mean, that's a huge step forward in getting local food security, getting producers decent money for their cattle, and that sort of thing. We're sure going to try for chemical fertilizer free. It's not necessarily.
Another element to this is when we talk about grade. You know, my animals, when they went to restaurants, had to be at least number one, high choice with a reasonable yield. You know, not too fat. And if you, I don't know, it's pretty hard. It seemed to be to market animals to a high-class restaurant that you don't have some of these alternatives considered.
Okay, we have considered those alternatives, and here's what the reality of what this co-op is. We're not marketing prime beef or even graded beef. We're marketing grass-fed beef, and what people want, they want the seasonal variation and the differences that the seasons will bring. It's not the same all the time, and that's what we're bringing to the table.
You also want palatability too, that's another factor.
Well, here's the deal. I keep hearing that we can't do it, and you can't do it, and you can't grow alfalfa without commercial fertilizers, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to poo-poo your experience, but my experience is that you can, and it is being done. And I mean, nobody's more intimate with my cows than George. George, does every one of my cows come through and look the same?
I ain't answering the question.
They don't. My cows don't come through and look the same. Not one of them do. But I have never been left holding on to one cut of meat. I mean, every animal that I slaughtered is sold within 2 days. So, if you're here saying that it can't be done, I'm here telling you that it can be done. So, hopefully we can get together on that. What was that?
What are they pounding out in 2 years?
It depends on if I bought the steer or if I have the steer on, born on my farm. The ones born on my farm are a lot bigger in 2 years. But, I don't know, I shoot for about 750 pounds hanging.
Our last one hung at 718.
718.
2 weeks ago, 718.
Was that when we bought or when
No,
we?
that was one of ours. Right, Sherry, 718? Yep.
So I don't know. Some of them are over 30 months when we butcher them, but the majority of them are in that 24-month range. But I don't wean my calves either. I let mom do it, so they do grow slower when you wean them and they're just on grass. Nobody's arguing those points. But like we said earlier, if you want a calf in the fall or in the spring and butcher in the fall and have an 18-month animal that hangs at 800 pounds, maybe this isn't the wholesale option, isn't the option for you. But if you're looking to get a premium price for your premium product, then that's what we're trying to put out there. Because right now, there's a few of us trying to do it on our own, and it's hard to get into the big institutions. I could sell a lot of beef to individual people, but if I want to get in a grocery store, or if I want to get into WWU, or if I want to get into Peace Health, I can't do it on my own. But together, collectively, we can. And that's what we're trying to offer.
And there's one other thing. We're aiming at this niche. And in this niche, people aren't expecting to have the marbling that you get in the grain fed or the other stuff. And the niche we've got, people understand that they're going for grass fed and they're going to have to give up some things. And things are going to be different in the winter from what they are in the fall. And that kind of thing. And so far, there's quite a number of us who have been fairly successful. And as far
we can pay our property taxes. We'll put it that way.
And as far as I know, we've never had any beef come back at it. the people understand what they're getting, and we're working together to make sure that we're all in cooperation on this.
Okay, I got one quick one. You listed for the top tier to sell to wholesale, that the member could, for the hanging weight that was listed, I don't remember exactly what it was, you'd be expecting about you'd be looking at about $1,500. Does that include that, or is that after the butcher fees have already been deducted from that?
That's
live. You're looking at $1,500 live.
$1,575 rough.
Okay.
That's the.
Okay. Because the reason I asked on that, because I can do better than that with a lower hang weight after butcher fees as it is now. So I'm trying to figure out why it would be attractive to me, and I can't raise enough steers right now that I can sell. I've got market all the way down to Seattle. So to make it attractive to me, what's the benefit of me even using the $500 membership to do exactly what I'm doing now, and your price per pound is 2 cents higher than what your local butchers are ready. So
Okay.
I mean, some of that their prices are slightly higher, plus the membership fee on top of that, and I can do better on my own, even though the higher membership would give me a quote-unquote security blanket, but that's only if I had extras that I couldn't sell on my own. But you're requiring a production requirement as well, which I can't meet. I mean, I can only guarantee 3 a year outside my normal private sales, which they have no intentions upon going to Cooperative to buy, at the higher prices than what I can get to already. And I'll still do better myself.
But a lot of people don't want to market. So those of us who do want to market, we can.
Well, I'm not proving it. I think this is a great idea, but I think that some of the price tags, the membership costs to just get through the door are pretty steep. I mean, even $500, I got to pump out an extra one a year just to cover that cost. At $2,500 at a small producer, you're going to have to tack on an extra 25, 30 head just to cover your costs.
That's a one-time fee.
One time ever.
One time ever.
Okay, so now that makes a little more sense to me, because I was under the impression that this was a yearly. Okay.
Here's the deal with the membership fees and that sort of thing. Anybody can process at the facility. You can process custom, you can process USDA. What we're looking for with these things is specifically just to get enough equity to say the farmers are behind it, the farmers have some skin in the game. Let's take it to the next level and try and get private equity to do another third of it. And then we can put those together and take it to the next level and say, let's get some bank equity. So, you don't have to pay any of that if you don't want to. Here's what that's going to do for you though. First of all, it's going to give you a share in the business. It's going to give you a voice. It's going to say, Chris says, the prices are too high and I'm not getting paid enough. Well, if you're not a member, it won't matter anyway. But if you're not a member, you don't have a voice.
So the service will still be available to non-members for just standard kill,
right?
No USDA.
Well, it won't be available to anybody if we can't get enough folks interested. But to help fund the initial part. But the thing is, you get a voice, you get patronage dividends, which there's going to be more custom slaughter that the folks aren't members. Any profit that the co-op would receive from that is, they're not going to get dime back with it.
Is it upgradable at any time?
I guess that's up for discussion. I think so. Yes. And the third thing would be, besides those patronage refunds, you tell me if you've got an animal that you need to schedule with anybody. It doesn't matter who. Try and call up somebody on the 1st of September and say, I need an animal butcher.
I know how that works.
Yeah, so and it's not saying we can definitely put it in whenever you want to, but any members get a preference, over a non-member. If there's an open slot, the member's the one that's going to get scheduled.
Yeah, just one point. My name is Steve Papadakis, and I would like to provide some encouragement, actually, for what you folks are trying to do. I am an end user, not a producer, as most of you are. I guess I own a restaurant called Dirty Dan Steakhouse in Fairview, and there is a demand for natural beef. And I also agree with the standards that you folks are trying to promote. I don't have to deal with all the idiosyncrasies that you folks have to do as ranchers and farmers. And my hat's off to you. But what I have to deal with is the customer that comes into the steak and says it's tough or it doesn't taste right. And those are some of the issues that we have to deal with in our business as end users. So the most important thing, whether it's fertilized or not fertilized, or whatever standard you come up with, if you set a standard that's natural, and I think consistency is the most important thing. I was not concerned, but this gentleman over here mentioned seasonal variations. Could be tough for a high-end steakhouse, you know, because folks come in, they taste it one time, it tastes like this. They come in 6 months later, they expect it to taste similar, or at least the same. I tasted about 2 years ago. I had some local ranchers that came to me with some natural beef, and I was a little bit reluctant to even talk to them, but I said, okay, bring me some samples. And I was impressed. And that's why I'm interested, that's why I'm here tonight, to learn more about what you're doing. So my hat's off to you, and I hope that you guys can put this program together. And yes.
And, if we gave you fresh beef in the summer and fall and frozen beef in the winter, how much difference would it make to your customers, do you think?
Well, that's a good question. Everything we don't serve anything frozen now. Although the beef, the grass-fed beef that the samples were given me were frozen. We bought them and then we put them up.
They may have been my samples. I don't know. I've talked to you and I talked to your son.
I think maybe it was you. Yeah.
And let me digress for just a moment too. Your requirements for beef were more than like 10 beef a year to support in New York State. And so that's why this is such a hell of a good deal, because if we get 10 of us together, we can support Papadakis in his restaurant for New York State.
Yeah, I told him, I said, well, send me a couple strip loins. He says, well, I got to kill 2 animals for that, or I go one animal. You know, what am I going to do with the rest of it? So I understand that there's the other issues that you have to deal with. But anyway, good luck.
I also wanted to just offer a compliment. I think this presentation is fantastic, and the obviously the hardest part is setting up the standards. And I'm not a producer, so obviously there's idiosyncrasies to the standards, but it seems really well done and well put together. I had one question just as a processor. How long are you guys looking at hanging, and what kind of yield loss are you expecting in your hanging, especially for grass-fed animals? What's the average based on how you run your numbers?
Honestly, Gabe, I'm not sure.
I think our standard has been 15 days. And I know a lot of people want 20 and some want 40 and so on and so forth. But our standard has, and this is very, we can adjust these things, but it seems that we get along with 15 days pretty well. And I've had occasional customers ask for more than they do.
So from a co-op perspective, though, you're buying the beef, you are then taking responsibility to market and sell the beef.
Right.
How much yield loss are you expecting due to dry aging? I mean, it could be a massive percentage difference, which would affect your financials massively.
We're expecting 1,100, kind of the average in terms of our projections, 1,100 pound live weight, 682 pound hanging weight, which is going to yield about 468 pounds of sellable beef.
That's not with 15-day dry age. You're going to lose another 20%.
I think that those numbers are fairly consistent with what we see. We do the math on a large number of bars, and then we add it up when it comes in from it's not a huge amount off, and I believe we hang right around the 14-15 day range.
Okay.
So I've got a service question. You guys mentioned that you're going to do cured hams and bacon. Is that going to be USDA cured with a HACCP plan and all that? And how far down the packaging scale are you guys going to go? Are you going to do retail blister packs or trays, or is it primals?
I know we're still talking about that. I know we're definitely doing primals. As far as the rest of it, honestly, I think all of us are happy we've gotten to this point. And that's still one of those hurdles we gotta figure out. We gotta see exactly what the producer has demand for and what the market has demand for.
Second question, the skin on pork. Are you guys going to get us scalded hair?
That is something that we have not crossed yet. Certainly something I know about, but I honestly don't know. I haven't seen anything from the markets that would say this is definitely what we want, but maybe I just have to look hard.
Skin on pig is 30 pounds more of hanging weight. So it's an easy $60 bonus per pig for each producer for custom. And it's a reason to route the pig to your facility versus somebody else's. Even on top of the, you could probably charge $60 for the skull on top of the $60 for the processing, for the kill. So.
And primarily the skin on the pork is beneficial for when you're doing like a Virginia style ham or
barbecue bits.
Barbecue bits, right?
I don't know if I'm speaking for all the farmers here, but I don't think any of us want to be a slaughterhouse. We just want to have a way to get our animals to market. So a lot of these butchering questions, I don't know if a guy like me or Matt could really answer. I would apologize.
Oh, I got one last question. Since well, just recently now this is going to be USDA certified, I'm assuming that the other 6 strains of E. coli will be tested for then, and what additional costs for the original projections of the 2 they already tested for are involved there?
We haven't got that level of detail. We already have a master plan. We're going to be USDA approved and inspected in terms of the low slaughter units and approved for processing. So we'll follow what March. So, we question now?
Yeah, what's your pricing schedule plan to be? Well, let's say for beef.
Right now, 1,575 per head live weight.
How much are we talking about? Because we're dealing with a capitalist system, and you got to know the spread.
You're talking how many days?
How much are you going to go to let's say, a restaurant, and are you going to offer them, let's say, a certain product that you're going to offer them, in terms of price ranges as it relates to what they can get somewhere else? Because this is what they're going to be thinking when they talk to you.
We have developed a pricing schedule which we have shared with Western Washington University, the Food Co-op, Burger. We, are going to price the product competitive with the market for similar products. So if we look at what Hagen or the market certain are getting for Green Hills or things of that nature, we're going to be priced competitively with those products. And our hope is that we can work out a reasonable contract that is satisfactory to producers for a year and be able to work with, and what we want with market is market partnerships. We don't want to it's like, this is what we need to sustain our business. We'll show you our book. We'll show you what our costs are just like we have here. And this is what we think we can provide the products or a price that work for us. You say, well, that's pretty close, but when we say, we go back and sharp a little bit, but we're looking for partnerships rather than adversarial, typical relationships that can provide stability for these producers so they don't have to worry about it for a year, and they can farm and provide a quality product. And I think hopefully what we do in terms of the market is we're providing our market partners with the product that the customers want.
How will you deal with it when you're competing with ConAgra?
We're not going to compete with ConAgra. We're not going to compete with ConAgra.
Well, they will compete with you, though.
That's a race to the bottom. You've got 4 companies control 80% of the beef industry in America, and that's probably what's wrong with beef. Well, I think the meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.
I'm gonna get the other one tied up in there with her tomorrow, and they'll start doing their thing. Yeah. Yeah, it was fun. It was nice to meet her. Okay, bye. No, but I'm sorry, my let's see.